The 12 Hours of Sebring is brought to you by Fram Corporation, maker of the finest in oil, air, and fuel filters. I'm Les Kiter with Chris Economaki reporting from Sebring, Florida, where speed, endurance, and international color is a custom at the world-famed 12-hour Grand Prix of Endurance. This year, because of a change in international regulations governing engine size, will be a vastly different race, Chris.
That's right, Les. The biggest change will be found in the prototype category. Gone are the big 7-liter Fords that won here the last 2 years and their mighty challengers, Ferrari and Chaparral. But despite the decrease in engine size for prototypes to 3 liters and a resultant lessening of horsepower, sprees are only down fractionally. Porche of Germany pretty well has the prototype category to itself, but the Howmet turbine is the American home. 50 is more interesting. There are the quick Ford GT40s from England and the new British Lola T70 using Chevrolet engine. And the only Ferraris in the race fall in this category, but they're a far cry from the proud machines that 7 times have won this great race. Then there are the Grand Tours, the only cars permitted to use any size engine. A potent and interesting first-time addition to the 12 Hours are the Trans-American cars, Chevrolet Camaros, Ford Mustangs, American Motors Javelins, and Mercury Cougars. But despite the changes, Sebring promises to be the classic international battleground it has been for 17 years. The man who pioneered endurance racing in the United States, Alec Ullman. Alec, we see a new set of rules for the race here today. What is it going to mean for international road racing under these rules?
Well, I think it's a great departure, Chris, the fact that we have the turbine here today. It's really, for the first time, the turbine is seriously challenging piston automobiles, and so far it's done extremely well in tests.
Ray, what special problems will the drivers of the turbine car have in the race that the other drivers won't?
Well, we have to stop for fuel more often than the other people do, Chris. That's about our biggest problem.
Are there any facets of the car that make it easier for them?
Well, of course, we don't have to shift gears. We can keep both hands on the wheel at the same time. And it's a very easy car to drive. Very comfortable riding. Very sure and forgiving car. I think we have the finest handling car out here.
How does it lend itself to the Sebring circuit?
We're quite happy. We're down a little bit on horsepower, but you can't have everything.
Everything at Sebring is speed and staying power. And it looks like this is Porsche's year in both departments. For years, the Stuttgart Speedsters have enjoyed overwhelming success in endurance events, despite giving away significant power advantages. But this year, the 4-car factory team of 907s grabbed 4 of the first 8 starting spots. The Hans-Hermann Joe Siffert Porsche captured the pole, just a tick slower than last year's record speed set with a brute-engine Ford Mark IV. It's expected that the 5-liter Ford GT40s of JW Engineering in England will be Porsche's main challenge this year. The X Redmond number 28 is just seconds behind Porsche on the grid. Hawkins and Hobbs are 7th in the other GT40. 4th on the starting grid, a baby blue Chevy-powered Lola, handled by Scooter Patrick and David Jordan. It's one of a 2-car entry from American International, headed by actor James Garner. Beside Garner's, there are 2 other privately entered Lolas. But it's the pole-sitting number 49 Porsche in the limelight as the German team senses a real opportunity for an overall win at Sebring.
Pushka, for the first time, Porsche has qualified fastest at Sebring. You have 4 fine automobiles at your command.
Yes.
How will you deploy these forces in the race?
Well, it much depends on what the others are doing. We are not, although we are first on the starting line on the grid, we are not by no means much quicker than the others. It's just a question of tenths of a second, the Fords. And I'm very glad to say the turbine car is very near on our heels. So I really think that the Fords will set the pace and we are going to follow.
If you had your way, John, what kind of strategy would you like to enter a long-distance race using?
I think that any long-distance race is really a question of deciding how slowly you can go. How slowly you can go and still be up there in front at the end, not how fast you can go.
We don't really have any strategy at the moment. We got one car sitting fourth on the pole. We just see how we start out, and I think in an endurance race you gotta go and see how you stand and see whether you have to push or whether you can back off and let it run a while. But in 12 hours, that's a long time to run.
It's an especially long time to run for sedan-class cars. These almost stock Camaros, Mustangs, and Javelins are more used to the shorter duration events they run for most of the Trans Am series. With these exciting 400 horsepower street cars in racing trim, we'll be mixing it up for the full 12 hours, and that means special preparation.
Preparation is an important part of any automobile race, but it's one of the most important parts of an endurance race. Roger Penske, whose 2 Camaros are strong contenders, knows about that. What did you do, Roger, back home before coming to town?
Well, Chris, as you know, we have to take the complete car apart. That means chassis and all the suspension. It must go through Magnaflux and crack testing. Then our engines are completely rebuilt, brand new. We have new blocks, new heads, new valves, new springs. Everything is completely new in the engines, and they must be dyno tested for approximately 6 hours before coming down here. Then, of course, we have the test period, which we had 2 weeks ago when we came down and ran the car in for springs and shocks, so we feel we're ready for today.
A 2-car factory Javelin team with George Fulmer and Peter Revson will inaugurate American Motors to big-time racing using a 302 cubic inch engine. But it's really Mustang and Camaro who are at each other's throats. The factory-supported 2-car Mustang team, coming off a victory in the season's first race, is led by drivers Jerry Titus and Ronnie Bucknam, with former driver Lou Spencer as team manager.
Who are you looking at, the overall competition or those Camaros?
We're looking at Trans Am cars only. We don't care anything about overall, just win Trans Am. And of course, Camaro is always someone we have to fight. Mark's quite a driver.
Over the years, Mark, endurance racing has been one of planned attack, assigned lap times, taking it easy. Is that philosophy rapidly disappearing from the racing scene?
It certainly is, Chris. I think in the last 2 years, 12-hour races have been considered relatively short, and the mechanical ability of the car has improved so much that the components will stand 12 hours of very hard running, and that's what we plan to do.
Donohue's Camaro joins 67 competitors on the starting grid for the 10 a.m. wave-off. The pole-sitting Porsche enjoys a 38-mile-an-hour qualifying advantage over the slowest car, but just 10 seconds over the 10th qualifier. It should be typical of Sebring's 18-year racing history, fast and tight.
Between races here at Roger Penske's garage, champion Mark Donohue thinks about the big one. 12 hours of agony for men and machines at Sebring. He thinks about performance, and he talks about filtration.
Okay, that's that. Looks good. Without effective filtration, forget about racing, or any kind of driving for that matter. You can't finish races, and you don't win races with anything less than the best available parts and equipment. I've used Fram filtration from the start, and I'll stay with Fram as long as they do the best job of cleaning the oil, air, and fuel that go into my engines. That's what filtration is all about, and in my experience, Fram does it best.
Here at Sebring and all over the world, Fram does it best. Fram filters. They work on the track, they work on the road.
You can't finish races, and you don't win races with anything less than the best available parts and equipment. I've used Fram filtration from the start, and I'll stay with Fram as long as they do the best job of cleaning the oil, air, and fuel that go into my engines. That's what filtration is all about, and in my experience, Fram does it best.
Here at Sebring and all over the world, Fram does it best. Fram filters. They work on the track, they work on the road.
A classic moment in racing. The famed running start of the 12 hours of Sebring. Switzerland's Joe Siffert starts the lead Porsche and takes full advantage of his prime grid position. with a very quick start and a chance to enjoy a clear track ahead. The traffic's beginning to build on that pit straight, but some aren't as quick as they'd like to be. Hawkins is slow to get away. The Turbine figured to be a slow starter as Dr. Dick Thompson slowly winds up the jet in an effort to make his blast off. Siffert's still the only one with an unobstructed view of the track as he shows the way from the airport runways onto the tricky S-bends of the road course. The hairpin turn slows them to 20 miles an hour, and the gearboxes get a workout. Siffert and Minter are out of sight as the rest of the field elbows its way into the hairpin. And there's plenty of action in this narrow corner, the slowest on the 5 2/10 mile circuit. Siffert's Porsche in firm command through the hard right, hard left of the Green Park chicane. But the number 9 Patrick Jordan Lola has gained some ground. Wide open down the long back straight, Siffert's Porsche sings a merry tune with the first lap virtually in his grasp. Timers bend, last corner of lap 1, and it's Siffert all the way. Siffert and Porsche, undisputed rulers of the first lap, and bent on maintaining that spot. The Porsches of Elford near pass second, and Mitter, Stommelen third. Not many laps along, though, Siffert begins to feel pressure from the surprisingly quick Lola Chevy of Scooter Patrick as Patrick bests the Elford Near Pass Porsche for second. The hastily assembled Lola T70 with a 5-liter Chevy engine is very quick. And the Hamid Turbine, under Dick Thompson's guidance, has made remarkable gains after starting 57 cars down while its turbine wound up. The Hawkins Hobbs Ford GT40 is moving after its slow start. Patrick has passed Siffert for the lead. It's only half an hour into the race, and finishing is the key. An under 2-liter privately entered Porsche of Rudy Lenz goes awry in the chicane. No damage, and he falls into stride behind the front-running Patrick Lola. The Scarfiati Busetta Porsche is out. Engine trouble and only a half hour elapsed. A concerned Von Honstein is now managing a 3-car team. The laps were on, but Patrick seems trouble-free and able to stay in front of Siffert. A second Porsche retired, 2 in the first hour, as the Mitter Stommelen car has engine problems too. Patrick reports to the pits for fuel and driver change, with the lead still in his possession and anxious for Dave Jordan to take over. But Siffert comes by and takes first over the pit-bound Lola. Jordan's out on the same lap with the Porsche. While these Titans battle for first overall, the Titus Mustang leads the sedan class, and the Turbine has whooshed into 6th place overall. Donahue, battling back from an unplanned pit stop, momentarily visits the sandy boondocks off the S's, then charges back after the Titus Mustang. The Titus Bucknam number 31 Mustang took advantage of a good start to gain the sedan class lead, but they know they can't rest on their laurels with Donahue around. The Rodriguez-Yenko Corvette tries a new route through the chicane and causes some mild consternation. But no harm done, and he'll be back in the fray shortly. Pit time for the lead Porsche, a normal stop apparently. But the Patrick Jordan Lola is close enough to regain the lead the way they lost it. Porsche's lost 2 cars. Caution is the word. Team manager Van Honstein.
You had all your cars finish at Daytona, but here you have 2 cars out. What happened?
It says, I don't want to accuse anybody, but unfortunately both cars were over-revved. If you look at the tachometers, they are both standing above 10,000 revs per minute, and that our engines don't like too much. So
Pit action in the sedan class. Titus is in with the lead Mustang for fuel, tires, and driver change. Donahue pits the Camaro at the same time. A good comparison of pit stop times here. Penske's known for the thoroughness with which he prepares for a race, and his boys seem on top of everything. The Mustang still pit-bound. And there goes Craig Fisher in the Camaro, first away by a long shot. Bucknam's finally out on the Mustang, but he lost valuable minutes on the pit stop. The Javelins, new to racing, are doing creditably, but are no match for the Mustangs and Camaros. The lead car sideline. The Siffert Herman Porsche is back in the lead. Looks like steering failure for the Patrick Jordan Lola. Crew chief Lothar Motzenbacher, who's also qualified as a driver, must make repairs unassisted on the course if the car's to continue. The Limbs Wojtek Porsche succumbs to a bashed-in nose, and the rigors of the race begin to have their effect. The rule requiring drivers to fix their cars unassisted on course before they can be brought to the pits makes for some scenes that belie the glamour associated with driving in an international event. Lola's finally back in the pits, but in deep trouble. James Garner.
Well, Jimmy had an impressive start, but then trouble hit. Specifically what?
Well, in the first car, in the number 8 car, we had a clutch failure. And in the number 9 car that was leading the race at the time, we broke a steering arm, and the front suspension collapsed. The driver went out, came back in and got the parts, and then went out and put it kind of with baling wire together to get it into pit. So I think we'll probably be back, but it's going to take us a little time.
The lead Porsche has been averaging better than 106 miles per hour, but the Hawkins-Hobbs Ford is now on the same lap and pressing. The Alford Nearpass Porsche is running 3rd overall. The Donahue Fisher Camaro is solidly in command of the Trans Am race and an amazing 5th overall. The second Penske Camaro has passed the Titus Mustang and holds 2nd in the sedan class behind its sister car as the Trans Am race turns into a battle royal. On lap 73, the Hawkins-Hobbs GT40 took the lead from the Siffert Herman Porsche. Australian Hawkins and Englishman Hobbs have done a phenomenal job capturing 1st overall. The Siffert Herman Porsche shows no signs of letting go. Turbines had 14 pit stops in 6 hours, and this looks permanent. Car developer Ray Heppenstall.
We're sorry to see the car push behind the wall, Ray. What was its problem?
Oh, we had a motor mount failure.
What do you think led up to that?
I guess one of them came loose first, and then another one broke. There's 3 motor mounts on the engine.
No way of welding it?
No.
A startling development. The lead Hawkins-Hobbs Ford GT40 retires with suspension failure after a minor but highly controversial on-course accident. Drivers Paul Hawkins and Leon Engelman.
Paul, you had your problems out there. Just what happened?
We went into the lead and we were going away nicely. We came through under the MG bridge and a Javelin, I think it is, Javelin, pulled over, let a little Porsche 911 through, and the bloody women driving this Javelin pulled straight back again. I don't know whether they knew what they were doing or what. The Porsche hit them and spun. I tried to miss the Porsche by going up on the grass, but unfortunately he spun again, completed the spin and hit me. And of course it smashed the front up. We had to come in and repair it. That lost us the lead and put us, in fact, 4 laps behind the Porsche that's now leading.
What do you think about women drivers in a race of this character?
Well, I think someone should have told them the Sunday school picnic's tomorrow. They're here a day too early.
Leanna, Paul Hawkins has accused you of being a woman driver.
Oh, that's not very nice of him, but I know what he means.
What happened out there?
Well, as the car keeps on stopping all the time, sometimes you're in a bend or a corner, and the car just stops, so you can't go to the side because it's a narrow corner at that time, like the S's. You just can't go away from them.
He seems to feel that women drivers should not be allowed in the 12 hours. How do you feel about that?
Well, I know a lot of men racing drivers feel the same way like he does, but this is an exception. We just can't help the trouble we are having.
The car more than the driver?
At this time it is, I'm sure.
Unaware of this raging controversy, the Siffert Herman Porsche has been quietly building its lead into the late afternoon. Second is the Alfred Nearposh Porsche, but 6 laps down. Donahue and Fisher have done a magnificent job and now lie 3rd overall. Their sister car is 4th, and the Titus Mustang is 5th, victim of several flat tires. With no competition and dusk full on, the Porsches lower their average to just over 104 miles per hour. Roger Penske signals his lead Camaro his 97 mile per hour average. Donahue Fisher have a 3-lap lead over the Mustang. The cut tire problem during the late afternoon severely hampered Titus' effort. He said it was debris from other shunts. Whatever, it was a severe handicap. There's no substantial change at night, and Baron von Honstein shows his delight.
What about the way the race has gone for you? You lost 2 cars, but you must be pleased the way it's running now.
Yes, we lost 2 cars, as you know, by over-revving, but everybody can make a mistake, so we are very happy, though, that Penske with the 2 Camaros is in such a good position, because I really think he did a good job, and I hope the race finishes as it is right now.
And well, he should, with Porsches running 1-2. And as a safety factor, the lead Porsche has been slowed to a 103 mile an hour average. He has a 13-lap or 67-mile lead on the 2nd place Porsche. And there's the checker, 12 hours from the start, and Porsche has a 2nd straight major international endurance triumph. The Porsche team is understandably delighted with its 1st and 2nd overall. Penske, too, is pleased with his 3rd and 4th overall, 1st and 2nd in class. In a moment, the victors speak. Siffert and Herman covered more than 1,200 miles and were understandably happy.
And here are the winners. Joe Siffert of Switzerland and Hans Hermann of Germany. Joe, congratulations. You're happy?
Very happy, yes, thank you.
Tired?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
How about you, Hans? Your 2nd time here winning at Sebring. You're pleased, no?
Yes, I win the 2nd time here.
Are you fatigued? You tired?
A little bit, sure.
Was it a difficult race?
It's more difficult than Daytona, the course for the driver.
Was it difficult for you, Joe?
Yeah, it's difficult a little bit. And I think you must congratulate every mechanics and engineers from the Porche.
As for Penske's Trans Am win, it was doubly sweet.
Gentlemen, congratulations. Was it a difficult race?
Well, any race is difficult, Chris. I think it was a hard grind all the way. We didn't have to let up too much. We had a good lead, but we kept pressing anyway, and the car ran strong to the end.
Craig, are you surprised that you finished as high as you did?
Well, of course, I'm very happy to be associated with Mr. Penske and his whole entourage. It's really an amazing effort that they've put up, and they certainly deserve this victory.
But are you surprised that the car got 3rd overall?
I suppose so. I know we looked at the qualifying results and saw there were 12 cars ahead of us and began to wonder maybe just possibly 1 per hour.
Roger, when you came here, what did you really hope for in terms of an overall finish? Were you thinking about 3rd?
Well, Chris, I was thinking about those chicken feathers that Jerry Titus told me that I ate after Daytona because he didn't want to run there and I did, and I think I'm going to give them back to him after.
Roger Penske is referring to the friendly rivalry that exists between the Chevrolet and Ford Mustang teams.
Cars of Sebring has been brought to you by Fram Corporation, maker of the finest in oil, air, and fuel filters.